I drove field cuts through my neighborhood.
Wait, what did it do? Did it add me or not? I couldn't see.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fearlessly Authentic. I'm your host, Lucky, and we got Steve over here.
Hey, everybody.
And we're going to bring on the lovely Charlotte.
Pull your back a little bit.
Okay, I brought my volume down. Better? There you are.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that you reached out and, we're like, yeah, I'll come on and talk to you.
Yeah, like, why not? That's, like, kind of what I'm doing in the evenings. Like, I'm just chilling in my room, enjoying talking to people and getting out there and, actually sharing good things versus all the craziness going on.
Yeah. I think it's really important so let's give everybody a little bit of a, background, whatever you want to share about yourself and your journey. And then we can get into some of this stuff.
Yeah. So I am in my early 30s. I just had a birthday not too long ago.
Yeah, we have almost the same birthday. We're like days apart.
Yeah. I'm not going to give the exact date. So, but yeah, I've been transitioning now. What is it? 19 months. It's something I always like, I hate to sound cliche. It's like, oh, I felt this way since I was a kid. Well, that's an actual like reality. I tried to run away from it, kept coming back to it.
So how does it feel? Like, how did it feel as a child? And like, how did that evolve for you? Like that feeling of it? Like, I'm curious how, like that dysphoria, you know what I mean? Like, what does it feel like? Like, does it look like, like you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, this just doesn't feel like me? Or is it more, or is it specific things?
It's kind of like there was always a sense of like in a way like another me that or like I wasn't living to my full potential in a way. And it was that like a lot of people, they'll talk about the absolute disgust and everything like that, like that they would just have with their body and everything like that. And for me personally, it was, I would look at myself and be like, well, I'm not growing into who I want to be. It's kind of hard to describe, like, in one sense or another.
It makes sense to me though, because like me being like a bisexual woman, like before I was like, out and honest about that, because it was in the 90s for me. I just turned 43. So, it was a little bit, I'm a little bit older. So it's like you just have that little bit of a generational bump. And it wasn't widely like accepted. I lost friends when friends found out. And I remember like that feeling of just like, it's like I didn't come out to like, I didn't like fully accept it myself. And it's a really hard place to kind of be. So like, as you're describing it, I'm kind of like reminded of that kind of like, you just feel like it's almost like an out of body experience. Like it just doesn't feel settled. You know what I mean? Like you don't feel settled in yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's what it sounds like to me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
No, I mean, it's a lot like that. And it's funny because like as I progress with everything, I'm finally feeling a sense of happiness, of that completeness. And I've always told people, because I've certainly done it in the past, with relationships of really any kind. You have to come from if you want true like relationships with people, you have to come from a place of completeness and overflowing love, in order to you know provide that to other people,
yeah,
or
that makes
show that
sense.
to other people, as
and
opposed
and
to
and honesty too, I think, like with
exactly
yourself. Like if you're not being honest with yourself, then it's hard to be completely honest with somebody else too.
right. It's and that's a lot better way to go about things in life, with everything, rather than trying to fill a hole or anything like that. So you know me doing this is for me, completing for myself. you know it's not for anybody else.
That's
So
good. That's good. Because you don't want people. We don't want people to have regret. And like we know the stories of the detransitioners, the people that what I mean. Like,
exactly.
and that. I think that's the biggest reason why we advocate for some gatekeeping, for some just some barriers that kind of not make it just so easy, because we don't want people to be suffering and we care about them. And like we don't. And now it feels like a lot of the transsexuals are having to come out of the woodwork, because I think we should maybe define that for anybody that doesn't quite get what we're saying when we say transsexual versus transgender. um because from what I know, so I'll give you a brief, rundown of what I know from just my own experience and the people that I've talked to. Transsexual people kind of transition into the opposite of what they were born, but they acknowledge biology. They're not in in denial of what like what's happened.
Yeah,
um and they also do it so that they can blend right into society. Like that is the whole purpose of it, is
exactly.
to just to kind of blend right in, like most people wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
And that's the whole point of it. But when it comes to transgender, it seems like it's a very blah, in your face. And it just, and you don't have to have dysphoria. Like you could just want to do it. And there's, I mean, it's beyond my understanding, like what is exactly happening on that side of it. Like that side, transsexual, I totally understand. Like I told you before we started, like
yeah,
I've had transsexual friends for years. But when it comes to the transgender, I don't quite grasp that. Like there's kind of these arbitrary kind of rules and things, and then there's not even you can't even define all of it, because there's just new stuff happening all the time. I mean, there's 117 different genders that they're saying that you can be. And it seems like it's just too an extreme for me. Now, do you think that I summarize what did I get right and what did I get
no,
wrong?
you hit that on the head. You know I I'm still very um shy and stuff like that, outside, in the world and stuff. So I'm
It's
you
got to
know,
be an adjustment for you. Like, it's just got to be
it
huge.
really is. It really is. But it is the whole point of it, is to transition to blend in, to not like just work within society and everything like that, to not you know be all outside of the bounds and everything like that, even though we certainly are, as transsexual people. But it's meant to actually help us personally. It's not
Yeah.
for us to throw it in everybody's face like, oh, you should give me these rights or whatever. And I always, it's like, well, okay, I have such like you know privilege in this day and age to like be able to access this information, to be able to do this. Like, I am so thankful for it.
There's a lot of places where you can't, like, you can't even be gay. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Exactly.
no, like, we really take advantage of how accepting, I think, sometimes the culture of our country, in the United States is, and there's, other West, the West. Yeah, I feel like we sometimes take things like, really far.
Yeah.
And I don't think we always think about where other people are at either, and the influence that we have. Like, we are a huge influence on the world in many, many different ways. And some good, some positive, and some not so positive. It just
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah. And like, everybody's gonna find the negative with like each person, individual, and everything like that. And the sad part is, like, nowadays you have all this like craziness going on with each group. um and it doesn't matter, it could be in you know any part of society. It can be in the LGBT, it can be in politics or whatever. Like, somebody is going to find something and not be happy with it, and then they may get really outspoken against it. But then you have just these crazy people that infiltrate these communities and make them way worse than what people want or need. Like,
Yeah, I agree. There's extremes in like every kind of like every kind of corner. There's always going to be people that push it like to an extreme, and you're like, okay, wait a minute here. and then what happens is, I think a lot of times, is that the people that have kind of been like just blended into society have to kind of like come out and then be advocates for whatever, corner of whatever they're in, and then we end up having like, hopefully a healthy, robust public debate. But, that hasn't been happening. I mean, I get called transphobic like every day. I get called a bigot. I get called like a Nazi. Like, if it's not like at least 3 times in a day, I'm slacking. Okay, I know it.
yeah.
I mean, it feels like that. And I'm like, I have transsexual friends. I'm not transphobic. My best friend is transsexual. I was in his, female to male, and I was in his wedding with his like actual like biological female wife. So like technically it was a gay wedding, but he's transsexual. So and I was the best man in a dress. I mean, come on. There was men in dresses at the wedding. What are you talking about? Like, and they're like, oh, well, you're just using. I am not using my best friend as some kind of buffer. Like, that is not the case. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter at this point. It's so watered down, because it's so over exaggerated. It's so extreme. And it's like they want to put you in that little corner and be like, well, you're this, and point that finger at you. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
Like at
exactly.
first it did. At first I was like, oh my God. I would be like, Steve, somebody called me, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm just like, I don't care. You guys have used it way too much. It's not true. And I know that. And that's just it. Like you just become numb to it. And it just, for me, it doesn't make me like shrivel away. It makes me get louder.
Yeah. No, and that's where, a lot of people like me are like, we've kind of put a call out to each other, through whatever channels, through Twitter, through, people that have YouTube channels and everything like that. It's like, hey, we need, if you're a good person and you are of this category, like you need to start speaking up. Like you can't
like
just sit quiet, because if they stop this for, if they don't look at it as, oh, these are just the crazies, like, you're going to be in trouble too.
Yeah, because people are going to lump you together and they're not going to look at the actual fact that there is a difference between transsexual and transgender. And they're not going to see that. And they're going to think, oh, all the transsexual, whatever, that just means that they have the colored hair and all the piercings too. And like, hello, I have piercings and like I've always colored my hair, but like it's become captured. It's become a uniform for a certain group of people. It really has. Like Buck Angel is on. He tells me he's like the blue hair is the uniform. And
yeah,
like it kind of has become that. Like there is a certain demographic with certain characteristics, and it's just it is what it is. I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, they're creating a stereotype by doing that, and it's just funny. I'm like, I don't even know what else to say, because there are obviously people with colored hair that are not part of that. Obviously, I'm not saying that everybody with the blue hair is that,
Right.
but you look at a pride event, you look at certain events, you look at like when they're screaming trans rights or human rights, it's very common. It's a very common thing to have the same type of like outfit and uniform and
Well, I mean, I look at like videos of pride and like all this stuff, and it's just like, well, okay, it's LGB and T and whatever other acronym, alphabet piece, puzzle piece plus
it's
that you want to throw in there.
It's gotten hard,
but
to
at the
keep up
same
with all
time,
of
it's
it.
like everything is trans. Like, why is everything okay? Everything, like, really?
Everything. It's become like a trans pride month. Like,
Yeah,
and I'm part of LGB, and I've loved rainbow stuff for like ever. And I used to go to pride events, and I don't anymore. They're out there, man. Like this stuff is not what it's not what it used to be. It's not the same thing as like years ago. Like I see stuff and I'm like, wow, what is
yeah,
happening? Like what is happening at Pride? It's that extreme that has kind of taken over it, and it seems like the rest of us, a lot of the lesbian and the gays and the bi people have just kind of like blended. We were able to blend into society more, and we are being like pulled back out, and all the transsexuals are being called back out. We're like, okay, I've never had to say that I was part of LGB more in my life than recently.
yeah. I know. Like I've like like the Homer Simpson meme, where he's like pulling back into the bushes.
Yes.
I feel like that's like what I want to do most days. I'm just like, oh, nope, I am not here.
I know it feels like it's like, oh my gosh, like we made so much progress and so much, like, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, what happened? Like, I'm looking around going, whoa, this isn't
Yeah.
this has changed. This has changed, like, when I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. It's like, okay. And that's like one thing that's hard for me, at like 19 months, like, actively like out. I have like I still hang out with a lot of old friends and everything like that. Like, they're still getting used to it. But every moment like that they see something in the news or something like that, they kind of look at me and like they're like, hey, get your people. And I'm like, those people that you see in the news, those are not
that is a different category, and that's what I think is really important for people to understand, is that there is a definitive difference, and those people are not representative of all of the transsexual community.
Exactly.
And I think that that's really important for people to understand.
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that, like, when they hear the word trans, they think everybody is under this umbrella term, and it's not. It's not. It really isn't. And when we say LGBT and T, we're talking about lesbian, gay, bi, and transsexual. And that's how it originally was. It was LGB, and then it became LGB and T. And I think that there's a lot of people that want to, like, separate from the rest of everybody else that's, in that other part of it. And Leo, stop it. He's like licking the towel, Steve. My dog's being weird. We're fancy, all right. We're in our kitchen, all right. Like, we're in a fancy studio. It's the kitchen table, whatever.
Doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think that's something that, like, and the rest of the transsexual, not the non-transsexuals, the transgenders and the QIA plus all that, they're getting mad at us for wanting to, like, push back and separate.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like, transphobic to want to, like, separate, and we're like, no, it's for your own independence. You guys are doing your thing, you know what I mean? Like you need your independence from us, because things are being conflated and it's getting confusing, even for people that are, like, within the community.
You are telling me, like, I can't keep up. Like, I don't know how to keep up. I'm just like, is there a way, like, that sane people will get ahead of the crazy people? Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. It feels like it's like just like an uphill battle, like, every day. It just,
Yeah.
it feels like it's like, oh my gosh, what is going on next? Like, I had this Jeffrey Marsh video that I had on my Twitter where he's talking about pronouns that you can't even pronounce. And I'm just like,
oh God, I saw that one.
Oh my God. Yeah. It, like, went crazy. I'm just like, this is what is happening? Like, you can't pronounce
Right.
it. And then people are like, oh, it's like Prince. And I'm like, no, it's not like Prince. Prince did it for a different reason. He was an individual. This is a group of people that are going to tell me that you can't pronounce my pronouns. And if you do that, then, like, I don't know what their reaction's going to be. Like, they're making it's like they're making it, like, harder and harder and harder for us to even be able to, like, they keep moving the goalposts, and it's just harder every time they come out with something new for us to even keep up, let alone, like, like, if we ask questions, it's like, you're transphobic, or you're this, or you're that, or like, and it's like, what are we supposed to do? Like, because the normalcy, like, if you go out into, like, just a regular, anywhere in a neighborhood, and in the United States, except for in certain concentrated areas, most people aren't talking that way. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
like,
Like
if you're like, people would be like,
I'm in
what
the
are they
South.
talking
Like,
about?
yeah, I'm in the South. And it's like, I haven't met, another, you know, person like me in real life. Like, and I don't know if I would, in a way, like, want to. Like, yeah, meet them, and then it's gonna, they're gonna be very like TRA or whatever, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, bye.
I know, right? Like, it's like, that's not the person that represents me. You know what I mean? Like, that's just
Yeah.
not you have a different level of representation. So yeah, I get it. And how, I mean, you don't have to go into your personal life or anything like that, but like, I'm just curious, like, how do you approach it, like, when you are, like, dating, or like with friends, or like someone that you meet new? Like, how do you, like, when do you tell people? Do you kind of like feel it out, or like, do you, like, what do you do there? Because there was another tweet that I put up that, like, kind of went crazy. It was a male to female dressed up, and they're like, oh, I have a date coming out, and it was obvious, you know what I mean, like, they were male, um and they're like, oh, when do I tell him, and this and that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that seems dangerous to me. When my transsexual friend came out, like, 15 years ago, it was still like, there was such a small number, and it wasn't safe. It wasn't safe to be out just like dating, because you're seen sometimes as a fetish, like, to certain people. And there are people that will do that and then want to hurt you, because that's, because of their own issues. And so, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like having compassion, going, oh shit, like, that's dangerous. Like, please, people, don't do that. Don't just show up and expect that somebody's going to accept you as that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, you're setting yourself up for, like, harm or disaster, or to be really embarrassed, or, like, it could just, honesty, I think, is just always the best, route to take.
It is.
But like,
It is.
how,
And if
like,
it's
it's not like you have to go to the grocery store and go tell everybody, like, oh, hi, I'm transsexual. You know what I mean? Like, like a Disney character going around singing it.
yeah, let me write it across my forehead.
I know, right? Get some tattoo.
Oh, well, I mean, there's I guess, one way that you can write it, and just share it with the world. Let's see, what, blue hair, crazy, just over exaggerated makeup or whatever,
Or the
like,
trans shirt, like they all have that the same like
Yeah.
trans shirts.
oh, the pins.
Oh yeah, or your pronoun pins. Like
Yeah.
they have the pronoun ones too. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the difference. That's how you can spot the difference right away, is somebody who's transsexual to transgender, is that they're really flashy with who they are, and like, we're here, we're proud, and that's fine to be here, and it's fine to be proud.
it is.
There's nothing wrong with that. But like, putting it in people's faces will end in just like, you must accept me. Like,
Right.
And of course we want people to accept other people, but some things take time for people to come around to, and you know what I mean? It, like you were even saying,
Exactly.
like your own friends, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it takes a little bit for people to get used to it, so I think that having that little bit of like grace with people is probably helpful.
It is. It is. That's that's something I try to, look at with them and everything, because, they're not always, using like the correct pronoun or whatever it may be, a lot of them I've known for well over 10, 15, 20 years. Like, they've known me since forever.
So it's like
And
habit for them to just, it's
absolutely.
just naturally like, yeah, they say, and then they probably, they probably either correct themselves or don't make it, what I mean, don't make it a huge thing. They might not
Right.
even notice it, like, just out of just
And
habit.
yeah, and oftentimes I just like, I'll make all kinds of jokes with them and everything like that. Like, I'll get them laughing and rolling, and like that's like the basis of our friendship anyhow, is like just carrying on and having fun.
Yeah, I think that that's like the best way to do it, is to just have it like where it's not going to be like end of the world, like meltdown, because we know like,
Right.
people just make mistakes, and like we're creatures of habit. So like, if you've known somebody forever, like I have friends that I met that were already like transitioned. So like I never really saw them in the other way. So it's really easy when you meet somebody new and they've
Yeah.
already been you know what I mean? They're already presenting as as the sex that they want to walk the world in. So it's a lot easier there. But like when somebody has trans, it can, it can be hard and you can catch yourself. But I mean, sometimes the people's reactions, mostly the transgenders that I've noticed, like I've never had a really nasty reaction from somebody who is transsexual. Like they're just like, they'll be like, oh, it's this, or they just ignore it or whatever, like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But with transgender people, I mean, it's like you just killed their freaking cat. Like they are just going to come at you for blood, and they want you to be embarrassed by it. And it's like, yeah, but you don't need to have a meltdown over that. You really don't.
Yeah. No, not at all. And it's like, I can tell like when people will be like a little malicious with, things, and it's like, okay, are you just trying to get to me just to like get a reaction? Because I'll tell you, you're not gonna get it. Like,
that's good. You have to like retrain yourself, I'm sure, like to just not snap at people sometimes, just when they're being malicious on purpose. It's got to be like, it's got to be hard to do.
yeah, it is, but it's that, I've, like I said earlier, like I've come to like love myself, and I'm starting to get that place, of abundance, to where I have that for others, over and above, like, any name calling, anything else like that. It's like, yes, okay, I can get irritated with you. I could, tell you off, in a constructive way, but, and I'll put my foot down on a lot of other things, but other than that, it's like, I'm not gonna be shouting in a GameStop,
I know, right? We'll just leave that. We'll just leave that for the people that that are in uniform. Like
Yeah,
the blue-haired uniform.
I like that. Yeah,
I mean,
you
it
must
doesn't
be
help
in this uniform in order to, shout and be crazy.
Yeah, Yeah, there's definitely it's definitely a certain, they make it really easy to spot them. They really do. Like you can kind of like see them coming because
Yeah.
they are very flashy. And I like bright colors and like like all that stuff. Like I've always been, really weird with my clothing styles, and like, we did a lot of festivals and music stuff and things like that. but
Yeah.
but there is like there's it's definitely like a certain, I don't know, there's a certain style that they all have.
Yeah, and it is funny, like you, you can spot them. It's just like if somebody was to have like a camera or whatever set up at Pride, and you could like see them, the camera was just like, hey, come tell us about yourself, and like there's no interview or anything like that. You could bet like, and you just have like a person sitting there saying, okay, like, just give us like the quick rundown on you, right? And you can see them walking up. You'd be like, all right, I bet this person is going to say this. I bet this person is going to say that. Like, you can see it coming, and it's like, okay. And this is what the world sees of transsexuals, of, LGB, like, you know, and I really love the group that, I've gotten to know on Twitter and everything. The people that I've gotten to know, like, they're my lifeline now. Like, I'm talking to them constantly, and, going back and forth, sharing ideas and stories. And, you know,
It's
they've really made an
amazing.
impact, on my life. And, I love them to death.
It's
Absolutely.
it's amazing how people are like, Twitter is so toxic and this and that, and it can be, but I have
Oh,
met the most amazing people on there. Like,
yeah.
I'm just like, I know people from all over the world, and like I love like learning about the different experiences that they go through and hearing their life stories. And like there are some really amazing, genuine people on there, and then there's people that are just there to agitate, and you kind of have to like figure out who's who, and you read people up pretty quickly, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can get it wrong, like I've gotten it wrong a couple times, but like, and everyone has different communication levels and styles and like approach, and so it's like a melting pot. And I feel like the gender stuff right now, and the the sex, the sex battles or whatever this, like whatever is like really happening, it's happening on Twitter. Like it is just like full on, like
It's
just
the Coliseum of words.
yes.
It is the Coliseum of words. Just, you know, for was the old gladiator thing, right?
Oh my gosh, did you see that they have an American Gladiator thing on like Netflix? Like they're talking about did you ever see that? I might be
Like American Gladiator,
yes.
or I think I've seen commercials for it, or like previews, but
Oh my god. So it was a show that was on, and they like did all these crazy stunts and like things. They had like women that were just like, I mean, like WrestleMania, like they were just buff as hell. Like, and they have men and they're competing and everything like that. And I feel like we're just like kind of doing something like that on Twitter. Like we are just like out there like having these crazy, weird, like sometimes conversations, and sometimes like the most amazing, beautiful conversations too. And it's such
yeah.
a mixed bag.
Oh yeah.
Such a mixed bag.
And it's like, with certain people that you meet on there, like you can find them when they're in a funny, silly, they're cutting up type of mood conversation. And then you can also find them in the, you know, the very like cheeky, trolly, kind of mood. And you can find them in a very serious, like, hey, we're going to have a serious talk about this. And the best thing that I love, like on the spaces and stuff like that I'm in on, it's like it can ebb and flow like the tide, like the river with it, where you can go from having a serious conversation to just outright laughing, crying. Yeah.
I think sometimes we have the laugh so we just don't like break out into tears, like, or just anger, because it like you're saying, like the way the conversation can like ebb and flow like that, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, you never know what you're gonna get, like, and sometimes it's just raw reaction.
Yeah, it's crazy. I am so sorry, my phone is like blowing up right now. Can I like just pause real quick? I don't know if that's like,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, I gotta
No,
check
you're
that.
fine.
You can click back on that link after. You should come back and forth on that.
So
Yeah,
if I
you
like
need to
exit out or change the app.
Yeah, you can dump out, and then you can come back if you want to come back on.
Yeah.
You want to come
Okay.
right back.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So this is awesome. I'm really excited about this conversation.
I want to tweak your microphone a little.
Oh.
It's like here. Let me listen to it.
How do I sound? Yeah, if you guys have any questions for Charlotte, put them in the chat.
Sounds fine now.
Now it sounds fine.
Yep.
Awesome.
It was just real thin before.
And Mouse, thank you for saying happy birthday. We saw that. I saw it go by. Good to see you.
He went on some like killer camping trip, and
Oh, nice.
And where everybody was musicians and they all played and stuff, and like 100 people on a mountain stargazing. And that sounds like right up my alley.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
He's probably going to play there next time.
Hey guys, will you hit like wherever you are watching this stream from? We would really appreciate that. Okay, so you guys put a couple of questions, and I'm gonna star them, and when Charlotte comes back, we will talk some more.
I just saw a Wookiee. Oops, that was Stevers.
What happened?
Snowy.
Oh,
Snowy.
Snowy.
I just saw a Wookiee.
So I think it's really important that we talk to the people and not just about the people when we are covering these issues. I think it's really, really important that we have conversations with everybody from different backgrounds and give everybody a chance to express from their point of view how they feel about things. I definitely wouldn't want somebody talking for me if it was a subject that was about me. And I would definitely want, representation. And I think that that's definitely important. Yeah, storms and meteor showers are awesome to watch. What were you saying last night? We saw there was a rocket that went by.
They launched a rocket from Virginia to go to the space station, and you could see it go by. Like you could see it was like bright orange at the bottom of it, and it was just getting. It wasn't going like super fast. It was just going and going a lot farther away, and it disappeared. And it was cool.
That is really cool.
It was very neat. Yeah, last time I went to Colorado, and we stayed in Estes Park, and we're up about 9,000 feet in this little park area on a little like cul-de-sac thing, and just steady smoking keef and dropped acid and just the most amazing shit in the sky that I've ever seen ever. And I mean, even more amazing than like being at Red Rocks and seeing Denver off in the distance and the crazy storm clouds, and just, you know, that those visuals were fucking insane too. But a crystal clear night and everything is just twinkling, and like you could just see like the ribbon of the Milky Way, and, you know, just hanging up there. There was no light pollution, you know. It was just like, oh my God, it looked like it was a movie. So cool. I love that shit. There was a DJ at the festival who was a rocket scientist for the channel I sub to. He was taken aback when I knew him through Two Vector. Is he the rocket scientist who makes like rocket power go-karts and skateboards and things? I wonder if it's that same person. He's like a little beardo guy. Probably
There she is.
65, 7 years old, maybe. It's funny as hell, though. I like his content.
So we had a couple questions. Let's see. It's from
Okay.
Gray Walker. I have a question. Do trans women notice a different expectation society has of them after they transition? Trans men mention it all the time. So do you notice a different like expectation that, like, you know, in society, like how you're kind of treated? Do you notice a difference with that?
I do, in a way. I was always kind of like the shy person, like the wallflower, and that has like definitely stayed. But yeah, I noticed like people definitely approach me different. And whether it's you know, at the moment, like if I'm just, you know, blending in and everything like that, or, you know, if they, you know, as the word is, clocked or anything like that, or whatever the case may be. You know, some of my like longtime friends like have certainly changed the way like that they, you know, approach me or, you know, talk with me, anything like that. So,
Do you think they're more like sensitive to you because they know that you're transsexual, or is it because they're seeing you more as a female and treating you like, you know, with more like, I don't know,
that
like
is a hard one. I actually haven't figured out yet. Like, I really don't ask people. I'm like, you know, oh, hey, did you say that different or anything like that? You know, because of that.
you
like,
probably just notice it, but like, yeah, it's probably hard
Yes.
for you to kind of like clock why they're like why they're
Right.
saying it different.
Good question, lady.
I notice, you know, a lot of people say, oh, chivalry is dead or everything like that. Like, you know, I'd say that's untrue down here in the South. Like, you know, doors are sometimes held open and stuff like that for me now. So, I mean, that's like
That's definitely a difference. That's them recognizing you as,
yeah,
you know, presenting female. So like, you know, yeah, that means that you're doing what you need to do to be able to blend into society in that way.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you had to change like your reaction to that and like your mannerisms to that? Like, did it like shock you at first to like, oh, was it like affirming to you? You know what I mean? Like, what? How did that feel? Like,
there's been a few times where it's like, wait, did that just happen? And then I'm like, oh, that did just happen. Okay, well, that's new. And then I, go about my day.
That's kind of it's interesting though to think about that. You know what I mean? Someone told me, they're like, oh well, because I was like, well, they're trying to like purposefully misgender me on purpose. The people that do that, like they're just like they're trying to do it. Like when I'm obvious, like it's obvious. It's like, oh really? Come on now. Are we really playing this game? They're like, well, cut off all your hair and go bind your boobs and see if you get misgendered. I'm like, I've never been misgendered in my life. I have the curves of like, I'm curvy. I'm a woman. You know what I mean? Like, and no, I have big boobs. Like I would not be able to like bind them and make them invisible. And I know guys that have longer hair than mine. So like, what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
Like, I have a female face. Like my voice too. It's like they wouldn't. It just doesn't happen.
She's only a part-time lesbian. Thank you, Lady Alex. That's right.
Only a part-time.
Part-time lesbian.
Only a part-time. But yeah, I'm like, why would I want to purposefully go out and do like I grew up wearing like boys' clothes and like in high school we're completely just my whole outfit was mostly boys' clothes, including my shoes. Like the only thing that was feminine about me was probably like my underwear and my bra. Like that's just, like I was just always like that. So like, I'm like, no, I still, even then I never got, like, why do you want me to feel misgendered? Like, like I don't think that's like, I don't understand why they want me to feel that way. It's like,
yeah,
I'm not going to just go cut my hair to try to have something happen to me. Like that's not going to happen. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I honestly haven't found like, too many people that have been like just outright, rude or anything. Like, most people, like I've had some, very like deep, South raised gentlemen, they've known me for a while, and through various like different social aspects, things that I go to, and they've kind of just like pulled me aside real quick and been like, hey, what would you like say or do in this situation? I give them my honest opinion on that, and they're like, thank you, like that's actually acceptable. Like I've had, I was in this diner one time, or I was at this gas station, I said this to this person, just because I said it, like that's how my mind read it. And then they're like, oh, this person went off on me and, started getting belligerent and everything. And it's like, why do people have to do that?
That's the difference. And I think that speaking out about that, to people and pointing out, well, there's a difference between the transsexuals and the transgenders. And a lot of it is the reactions that they have and how they behave, and it's outwardly also, and it's a very reactionary group. And looking from the outside, people get really confused because they just hear trans all the time, and and because they're conflating words, I mean, they are just, holy shit. It's like it feels like a mind fuck when you're talking to some people. It's like, but no, we can acknowledge, like, I will be respectful of somebody who is being respectful to me. Like I refer to you as
Exactly.
she, and we say yes. Charlotte is transgender, or not transgender, transsexual. See, I even get that mixed up sometimes.
That one
You
I
know,
will put my foot down on.
I know, right? Tell me, girl.
Let it straight.
I will put my foot down on that one. Don't. Those are
Yeah,
not
yeah.
my people.
Yeah, exactly. But like it can be, it's really easy to like misspeak and get it wrong, but like correcting it is really important. But um there is a difference, and I think that that's the thing that people need to understand. They need to understand that there is a really like the definition between the two, and I think that's one of the biggest things that like as like an ally to to transsexuals, that's really where my allyship is.
Yeah.
It's not really to the rest of all of that, because that is not, like that's just not. I don't understand it. I feel like it's very cult like. They're targeting children, which, like that's freaking scary to me. Like you
Yeah.
transitioned when you were, your brain was developed. You know what I mean? Like your brain was developed. So you knew what you were doing and what you were getting into, the consequences. I mean,
Yeah.
when I'm hearing about kids, I'm just like, oh man, it's heartbreaking to me. It breaks my heart.
It really is. It's it's one of those things. It's for me, it's like, okay, like, yeah, I wish we had some sort of definitive answer, but we don't. Like, and that's the truth of it. That's the reality of it. And if there was, back when I was a kid, like, would I have, if that information was out there, like, could we have a like 100% definitive answer? But you don't like have that, so that's makes it an adult decision. Like, sorry.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Lady Alex says, Charlotte, what do you think about the fact that trans women emulate the four stereotypes of what females should be in our society? Is this truly freedom? Well, I will say I know a lot of like the actual transsexual women that that I've known. They like things that are stereotypically not completely feminine, you know what I mean? Like in that stereotype. Like a lot of them like guns, a lot of them like the outdoorsy, like, like just
Yep.
kind of how I am as a tomboy, like we still like, that's why I say I would have been a prime time. They would have wanted me in this. They would have gone after me. I was totally a tomboy. But yeah, I want to see what you think about it, because I think some people do fall into those very tight stereotypes of what a woman is, and it's weird. It's really forced and it's really weird. But I know there's a lot of people that definitely are more like a tomboy than anything. You know what I mean? Like you kind of fit into that kind of category where I'm kind of at, as opposed to being, but go ahead.
Well, like, there's certainly the ones who, they, they have to wear, whatever kind of, you always, you always know them. It's like the anime skirts or whatever. You know, just the crazy high socks or whatever.
It's like fantasy stuff.
Like they
not
always
reality.
try to do this, and it's like, okay, go to a Comic-Con. Like, if you want to do that, like, go to a Comic-Con, like, do all that stuff. There's plenty of people that you'll meet just like you. Like, they go and do it for a weekend and then come back to real life. But, I love the outdoors. You know, I love camping. I love, you know, I want to get a sailboat and like sail around the world. Like,
That's amazing.
come on, you know?
Yeah, you're not doing like the Dylan Mulvaney thing, running around with heels on outside and being like, "Oh, I got a bug!"
Yeah. Speaking of Mulvaney, I think you might love this because I made this. I wore this tank top for this because I actually made. I don't know if you can see it. Stop the bulge.
Oh my god!
As opposed to embrace the bulge, stop the bulge. Like,
Oh my god, that's so funny.
that's something that like needs to happen. And it's like, get it together.
Now, do you think that Dylan Mulvaney is like on the hormones at all?
That is a great debate. Like, I would say for like the longest time, no. But you know, with that part of, you know, medical, everybody's you know, everybody's body is different and reacts different. Like, for the longest time, I would say no. Now it's like, okay, maybe, but it's still, it's like, I guess I was you know, quick to take to them, you know, to hormones and everything like that. So, you know, I think it was something, you know, a lot of times with a lot of people, you'll see them, you know, have a full like glow up in a year. You know, and what day is Dylan at? Oh, who cares? But no, like, you know, that, oh gosh, Dylan.
I know. Like, people do so many reaction videos to Dylan, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I
do
saw
like
the
blonde. I do like the blonde hair though.
Did you see the possum video? There
The
was a
possum?
possum. Oh my gosh, Dylan dressed up as a possum, like in big ear things with his mom, and then they had a real possum.
Why aren't you playing that? That shouldn't even. You shouldn't have
I-
said that out loud.
I
You
don't
should've just
even-
played the video.
I don't. I have to go find it if I want to find that. But yeah, like Dylan in an actual possum like costume thing.
Jeffrey is out of his mind fully.
Oh, Jeffrey Marsh.
Oh,
Oh
boy,
God.
Oh,
fully. I don't know, man. Every time you play a video by him, I'm like, what?
I can go and
fuck is
get
happening?
like the Jeffrey Marsh
Video.
one if we want to play that. It's so crazy. It really is. Like, it blew up. I'm like, my Twitter was just like going crazy. I'm like, oh my god, what is happening? And it was that. Oh, and apparently, you know, Gonzo came out as trans, like as in the Muppet character. Gonzo is
What?
trans. Yep.
I was hoping you were gonna say Ted Nugent, but okay,
Nope. Gonzo. I'm like, what is happening?
that would please me.
What?
If Ted Nugent was the next Dylan Mulvaney, that would be awesome. I'd be for. I'm 100% for that. Trans Muppet.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a real thing.
Trans Muppet. Ew.
Yeah.
I know. Oh
Jim
gosh.
Henson is rolling in his grave, going, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Yeah, like what are you guys doing to my characters? Like,
Yeah.
like
This is his
I
son
guess he
owns
was.
the
I guess.
company, so-
I guess it was like a non-binary or something before. Oh God, do you hear his voice? I know he goes by like. I think he says he's non-binary, but this is like out there. This is like beyond, like what Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I thought the only Muppet that like, you know, actually had a gender was Miss Piggy. It's in the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, Fozzie too. Fozzie kind of was sort
But-
of generic caricature of a male figure with the bowler hat and stuff. And I don't know. It's kind of ambiguous with the Muppets, you know?
Yeah,
As
yeah.
It wasn't real black and white with that.
Like as it should be, I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, they were a fuzzy little dude. Who cares what the
I think it's just yeah.
Like, why do we have to have everything sexed? Like I feel like it's just too
Bert
much.
and Bernie, they were both lovers, of course.
Of course they did that. Yeah.
They were gay Muppets. They were the first gay Muppets, I think. Or maybe Big Bird and Snuffleupagus. I'm not sure.
So anybody who's not familiar with Jeffrey Marsh is a content creator, mostly on TikTok, has a large following, and his following will go after people. I've been attacked by people and blocked by people on Twitter because I said stuff about Jeffrey Marsh before. There is a woman, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but she spoke out against him, and the mob like went after her, and they doxed her, and they went after her kids and everything like that, just because, you know, she said he was like creepy. He tells children to, you know, that they can go no contact with their parents and that they can join him on Patreon and he can talk to them individually. So like, I don't feel like he is a good influence on children. I don't think he should be talking to anybody's children. But yeah, this is the video that kind of went a little crazy on Twitter. And since everybody's not on Twitter that watches the show, we're gonna go ahead and play this little jewel.
What's in your soul?
Yeah. Let me know, guys, what you know, if you can explain this to me, okay? Because I don't fucking know.
Xenopronouns, perhaps one of the most beautiful concepts, one of the most poetic ways to approach this subject. Xenopronouns refers to any pronoun a person has that is unspeakable, that is unworkable in the language of a person. So an example would be a xenopronoun would be a word I can't even say it, right? Because that's the point. They're unsayable and sort of effervescent and unknowable, kind of like a person's gender. That's why I love this one. So an example would be, you know, a xenopronoun would contain a set of letters that is a pronunciation that a human being can't pronounce. It's some sound that a human being can't pronounce. Or that a xenopronoun contains an image or a concept that it's alluding to that is actually something that language has no way to express. The movement of understanding where non-binary people come from can sometimes take us into very lofty, beautiful, spiritual, poetic places. Thank you for your willingness to understand. Thank you for your willingness to honor us.
Okay, Charlotte, now can you explain this to me?
Well, I think Jeffrey March got what he wanted. I'm speechless.
Right? I was like, what the fuck? And then people were comparing that to Prince, and I'm like, no, Prince was an individual person. This is a group. This is under this is not transsexual. This is under the transgender umbrella, is what that is. That is part of their umbrella. That is not Charlotte.
No.
That's not like, you know, that's not like.
I mean, I would be fine, you know, if Jeffrey did get his wish, you know, where, you know, there's no sound, we don't hear from him again or anything like that. Like, he stops having a Patreon and, you know, is talking
Recruiting
to
kids.
kids privately. Like, that would be fine with me if, you know, Jeffrey Marsh just goes quiet.
Yeah. That would be like, you know, the most beneficial, I think, to people, because people literally watch him and like worship the guy. And I'm like, I don't even
see
understand
how.
what he said. Like, he just, what?
I don't see how. Like, a person is so cringe. Like, I don't know, my skin's like
I know,
crawling,
right?
like,
Ugh.
every time I like see a video, hear about it, or anything like that. I'm like,
And they're really
no.
pushed. They're really pushed out on to like everybody. And like, you know, and so it's like, it makes you wonder like what's happening behind the scenes to make somebody like that so prevalent and in everything. You know what I mean? Like, why is that? Because
Yeah.
he's pushing that narrative that, you know, and I think it's becoming like confusing to kids too. You know, like as they are open-minded and they want the kids because the kids are open-minded, and then they'll grow up into, you know what I mean, into that world, and they're more open-minded, which is fine. But I think it's also confusing to children to have somebody that, you know, presents to look like, you know, a female with dress and makeup, but then has a beard at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, it's gotta mess with their social cues. You know what I mean? Especially after everything else that we've been through the last few years, and just, you know, young kids, like it instinctually, I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, you know, like if a guy wants to wear makeup, then wear makeup. Like, I don't care. If you want to wear a dress, wear a dress. They are really comfortable sometimes. You know what I mean? Like,
they are
like
great for when you don't want to coordinate an outfit.
Yes. And
cool, I get to pick out one piece of clothing.
I know, right? It's so much easier sometimes. And sometimes I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not wearing a dress. Like, there's just no way I'm wearing a dress, because it's just not, it's gonna be in the way, or it's gonna be uncomfortable. But yeah, like there's definitely, I mean, I think we skipped a part where we could just, you know, where men could just wear dresses or whatever. Like, we've skipped that part of society, and we went to the part where we're just like, yeah, you can, you know, change your sex, but you really, you know, it's technically just not a thing that we can do. You know,
Right.
I like the way that, like, Buck, I love the way that Buck Angel, like, kind of puts it. It's just like you're presenting the way that you feel to make it easier to walk in the world that way. And like,
Yeah.
that makes the most sense to me. You know, it makes the most sense to say it in that way. And you know, that helps alleviate some of the distress that you have. And so, and it should be a last resort. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be like, everybody, let's go and do this, because then when you have a free for all like that, then it's like, then you're going to have people that are going to regret it because they weren't supposed to do it. They get wrapped up for whatever reason. And I think that's one of the hardest things that I see. Like, I really feel bad for the people that detransition for whatever reason, whether it was, you know, influence of friends or doctors, or, you know what I mean, what mental illness, whatever it is that got them to do it, that then they later on regret it. I feel like I feel bad for them, because it's like they get sucked into that, like the transgender cult, because it's not the same thing as the transsexuals. And so they get sucked into that transgender cult, like fraction. And then when it gets spit out the other side, they're suddenly like, oh, they're, you know, public enemy number one to everybody that's within that transgender, you know,
Yeah.
that lifestyle. And it's really heartbreaking, and it's like, yes, they do, like whatever it, whatever they should own, whatever partner they had in it to get themselves into that situation, because that's how they're going to grow, is accepting it and saying, like, okay, I got caught up into it for this reason. And, like just acknowledging that for themselves, for their own healing. But also then, they need a lot of support, and because they're getting pounded on at the same time. And then if you show them support, I mean, it is brutal, especially when somebody first comes out, like when they first start getting like, like coming out of the woodwork and like having the courage to say it. And then they get really mad when the transsexuals are supporting them. And then we're all transphobic Nazis and bigots. Like,
Exactly.
And the cycle continues.
You got to fill out the bingo card. Like,
yeah. There's definitely a bingo card that they want you to, you got to fill it in. You got to get all four corners. And
yeah.
So what do you think has been like the biggest thing that has changed for you since you've transitioned?
Really, like my happiness, my like, sense of actually like feeling myself, like, and being able to, as Buck puts it, walk the world comfortably. Like, it's not anything that, like I always say, it's for, the individual. It's, it was for me. And that sense of, comfortableness, of happiness, now allows me to come from a much better place of joy and, care to other people.
Was it
to
hard?
my friends and everything like that.
Was it hard to come out to yourself, like just in your own internal mind, like just coming to the realization? Was that hard for you?
In a way, yes. I mean, it took me, saying I was going to do it in my early 20s and then taking another 10 years. That decision of, am I going to have a family one day? With my own, partner, spouse, am I, and then would I, say I did the typical, nuclear family type deal, that, is a great model, for everything, as far as like a family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's not really a possibility. I would have to, adopt or anything, which I think is a great option for people who, can't have kids, that want to take care of somebody.
Absolutely.
That want to build a family, and do all that. But, I had to decide on that, am I going to, provide, grandchildren for my parents? What all is going to go on with that?
Yeah, it takes a lot more planning for you.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, it's a matter of, getting somebody pregnant or getting pregnant. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more steps to it. So you really have to plan it out. And I think that's smart. That's smart to think ahead and think about those things. And that's why, like, when it comes to the kids, I'm like, there's just no way for them to to really even be able to fully comprehend that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people who, will try to, they do it, they dip their toes in the water or whatever. But a lot of people that get hurt are trying to fill, wherever it may come from, but they're trying to fill a hole, from something, from somewhere, and they have that need to fill that hole. And, this is not something to do that. This is an actual, this is just very, very mental and everything like that. And, this is the way I cope with it. And there's a lot to it, like, hours and hours of, therapy and, talking to somebody who can actually guide you through that, not just going down to a clinic and everything like that and, saying, hey, I want to get on hormones,
Yeah. And I remember I asked my friend, like, how did it feel like being on or off of the hormones? And he was like, well, I feel more like myself. Like I feel like myself when I'm on the hormones. Like they're and that was the difference that, I mean, that he felt. And so that always, like, that made sense to me. Like, it was like, okay, so you just, like, it's like when you feel like you're not like coming down with a cold or anything, but like you're just not feeling like, ugh, like you're just kind of dragging on and not. But when he took the hormones, he felt like, just, I feel like I am who I am now, and it made him feel that way. But
yeah, there is certainly a gray cloud aspect to it, before, and, now I get to actually, like, go out and be out in the sun, which I love being on, the water and everything like that. So I do like my sunshine.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I love the water too. Absolutely. Let me see. I think there was other questions, and I'm not sure.
Go ahead, bring them on.
All right. Well, if this is too much, then you just tell Oz it's too much. He's in Australia, and he's blunt. He said, are you okay to talk about your lover and how you function together?
Yeah, she's great. Take her for walks, feed her regularly. No, I don't have a, like, significant other. I have a dog and a cat.
I knew what you were getting at when you started this. As I saw the picture. Oh my gosh. You have the cutest dog. Okay, so I have to tell you this story because I know you'll love it. Okay, so Leo, my dog, his mom's name is Dixie Normus. And I'm not even kidding, because the guy who named the dog, like, I guess I guess it just wasn't enormous. So he's like, no one's ever gonna say that to me. So I'm gonna name my dog that. And it was, I've told this before, so some people might be hearing this again, but like, the little mailer card, the little postcard comes in the mail, and it would say, Milo and Dixie Normus, your appointment. Yeah, even at the vet's office, it said the right name.
Oh, that is too funny.
And his mom looks, because she's the miniature pincher, so she looks like your Doberman, just a smaller version. So it's funny.
That is so cute. Well, like I'm not gonna say it like on live, but I did tell you my dog's name, right? And
I don't think so. You don't have to
okay.
tell me here if you don't want to. You can
Yeah,
tell me after.
but I will say when you if she's like running down the yard or whatever, like when she was a puppy, and you know, you're like trying to get her to come back, and it's like yelling out her name loudly, ac- you know, across the neighborhood. It definitely didn't sound like her name. So I
That's
could only
great.
imagine with Dixie.
Yeah,
There.
we just called her Dixie basically, but that was her real official name.
I could just imagine. Oh, it's like what's that one joke with names? It's like Mike Hunt.
Yes.
That's what that sounds like.
Definitely. Oh, Alex was saying, this was a while ago. I get behind on the chat sometimes. What does stop the bulge mean?
Okay. Well, if you haven't seen it, I hope that you don't, but Dylan Mulvaney had a video saying embrace the bulge, talking about like wearing, like women's jeans or pants,
Like short
shorts and
like
everything,
revealing kind of
and still having the bulge, the male bulge, like
didn't talk anything. Like
I know, a lot of gay men love to, gaze for some good bulges, but they don't look for it on, female presenting.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of like I don't know, an oxymoron, I guess. Like it was just like, well, why would you? That doesn't make sense. Like it didn't make sense to the rest of us. Like at least to the transsexual people that I knew, those things didn't make sense. But to other people, of course, it's like, well, of course you have to just accept that, and it's like. They want you to accept everything as to where it feels like transsexuals, it's a lot more classy. Like there's not like like it's not offensive, and that's I think a big difference between just from the people that I know.
Yeah. No, I was actually really excited to get on here and talk with you and everything, because I've heard you in some of the Twitter spaces, and we've interacted there, and I think we've been in some spaces, listening or talking, and wow, some of those got really heated really quick.
I know. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, we have like the the self-ident, like the labeled. Well, they were labeled, and then they take the identity, like the TERFs, like we have them, and then we have like people that are TRAs, and like people that aren't even necessarily transgender themselves, but we have the trans rights activists that like oh my gosh, it can get brutal in those spaces when that's happening. Absolutely. And it can get really heated. It's like, oh man, sometimes I don't know how we even get out the other side of it, because if we can't talk to each other, then not sure how we're going to get out to the other side and come to some kind of agreement on things. It's like
exactly.
Name calling, like when somebody starts just name calling, I'm just done. I'm done with that. I'm done. I'm not gonna. I don't have it in me to do all that. Like, if you're going to call names and you're going to, act a certain way, then you're just showing that you don't really want to have conversation with anything. So, I mean, and that's just where it will be. I'll just be like, fine. I'm not going to take you serious if you're going to start calling names, because when people start putting labels on me and saying that I'm this or I'm that, and I'm like, no, I'm really not. And you might be taking what I'm saying the wrong way, but if you don't like listen to other people, then you're not going to really get any other perspective besides the one that's being told to you or that's being echoed back to you.
Yeah. And I kind of really hate the echo chamber value of some of these groups. And they'll have people up, but they won't hold an actual conversation with them. Whether the and especially on Twitter, like whether the host, co-host is just muting people, or they'll only have like so many people in to talk about it, and then it's just dogpiling from there.
It's to push a certain agenda and push a certain narrative, and like kind of like buffer out anybody that has anything that's dissenting from that. Yeah, then that makes it hard, and it makes it where we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to say, all right, well, we agree on all of these things. Like if we're looking for disagreement, we can find it. If we're looking for agreement, we can find it. And I think that when it comes to like, building the bridges and everything, we need to find the places where we agree, and then let's walk up to that line and find out where that line is that we don't agree any farther. And let's talk about why, and let's be respectful with each other, or else like we're going to keep spinning our tires, and you're throwing mud on me. You're throwing mud on me. You know what I mean? Like we're just going to keep doing the same thing, and we won't get anywhere. But like, we need to be able to hear people saying things that we don't agree with, and be confident enough to sit in that.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I don't agree with you, and here's why. And then, give them the opportunity. I think that a lot of people, like when somebody doesn't agree with them, it's like an immediate, like, oh, they have like that natural, like recoil that happens. Like, oh, you said something that just, oh, it just hurts, it physically is like, oh, and I think that means that you're probably in an echo chamber if you're doing that. If you can't listen to somebody else saying something that you might not agree with, then you're probably in an echo chamber. You should probably, do some self-examination and see like where you can kind of grow and where you can kind of maybe, meet them, in the middle or somewhere. Meet them somewhere close to their side.
Yeah. Well, as one of my really good friends put it, if you ever have to have like a contentious conversation or anything like that, like it's best to even if it is over the phone, whatever like that, but both parties need to be not sitting on their defensive position. They need to not be sitting in a room, on a couch, yelling back and forth or yelling at the TV or anything like that. Like, you need to go take a walk, and whether that be in person, virtual, over the phone, like whatever way that may be, but, take a walk and take some breaths, figure things out, see how you can change that. And, especially in person, just walking together while you found your first commonality that you can actually express together, and that's just matching each other's pace.
Yeah, and I think asking questions, sometimes people like take that as being something that's wrong for whatever reason, but like, asking questions and being curious, like, well, why do you feel that way? Like, I've had people like get really upset with me about something that I've talked about when I talked about like, just transgender or transsexual or whatever, and then I later find out that they have, a family member that is, and I'm like, well, listen, I'm not hating on I love everybody. I really don't I don't hate people at all, whether they, what they choose or not. I might not agree with them and I might not agree with their choices,
Right.
but that doesn't mean I hate the person. Like, that's not, that's just not my nature. That's not who I am.
Exactly.
Like I'm not against anybody's like personal choices, as long as they're not hurting others and they're not hurting children. Like, that's just always been my thing. You know what I mean? As long as you're not hurting anybody, and I don't want to see you hurt yourself either, but I can't control that. But I think that people take things really, really personal sometimes, and it's not always obvious why. It's like, do you have somebody in your life that this is what I'm saying is directly affecting? And usually it will come out later on. Like, they'll be like, well, I have somebody that's blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so do I. Like, that's fine. And
Yeah.
it's not me attacking them, like, personally.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, with like me and a lot of the years of friends that I've had, they're like, and I never like, stormed into any like social event, like, with a pronoun pin or anything like that. Like, I'm just casually, changing and everything like that. And, people finally come up and they're like, hey, so like, do you like prefer anything? And I'm kind of just like, do you see what I'm going for? And they're like, okay, that's what we thought, but like, nobody's talked to you, so we didn't know. And I'm like,
yeah, it's got to be it's probably going to be awkward to have some of those first conversations with people that have seen you from the before.
Yeah.
And that are seeing you now. They're probably like, what do we say? Like, we don't want to be like, like, they don't want to be
Right.
rude, but like, they don't want to like make it awkward, but it's going to probably be awkward. Like, that's just all there is to it. There's going to be an awkward time. That's an adjustment period for people, and it's going to be awkward for everybody. And it's probably better if everyone just kind of like laughs and kind of like gets through the awkwardness.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, and I think that that's like the best way to do it is just to kind of like just approach it and be like, all right, well, what's going on? Like, how do you want me to refer to you? What is your preference?
Yeah. I find it so funny. It's like, a lot of those old friends, it's like they start walking on eggshells with certain things, and I'm like, oh, come on, just say it.
Yeah, like, just be honest with me. Just be honest. Like, that is the best thing I think that you can do. Because if you're honest about it, I mean, I would rather, if someone's gonna like hate me because because I'm a bisexual woman, like, I don't want to be my friend because of that, and then okay, then I don't want to have you around.
Right.
If you don't accept me for who I am fully, then we shouldn't. Then we're not a match. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to hate me, and doesn't mean I have to hate you. But it just means that like we're definitely not gonna like probably be hanging out. You know what I mean? Like, just go on with your life. I'll go on with mine. I think
Right.
that's important to just acknowledge that, like, not everybody is gonna be for everybody. Not everybody's gonna understand it. Not everybody's going to understand the transition. Not everybody's going to understand people who, what I mean, are gay or bi or lesbian. And it's like, they're just not our people. And sometimes that
Right.
really sucks. It really, what I mean? It sucks when people aren't your people and they used to be your people. And, and especially like family, getting rejected by family can be like really, really tough. And I think that sometimes we just have to realize that they just weren't our people. They just weren't our people, Charlotte. That's
Exactly.
just all there is to it. Like, and it can be really hard though. It can be really hard. It can be devastating when it's somebody that, like, you think is like a best friend or something, and then all of a sudden it's like this is what did it. Like, we did all this badass shit together, but now this is what the problem is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I had girlfriends, like, in high school that were just like, no, they got weird about it. Like I was suddenly looking at them differently, or, like, oh man, it's ridiculous.
It really is. And it's like, okay, I can, still hang out, still, cut up with you, do whatever, like, it's
Yeah, like you're still the same person in the core of who you are.
right.
You're just presenting differently. You're just
Exactly.
presenting in the way that you feel more like is you, and that's it.
Yeah. Which, on stereotypes and everything like that, it's like, I love the outdoors. I love camping. I love, my my car, all this other stuff.
Me too.
Is that so stereotypical? Like,
I don't know. I always break the stereotypes. Like, I drive a big old 91 Dodge Ram van. It's a big B250. It's 15 feet long. And
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I love it. I've wrenched on my van. I built a bed in the back so I could travel and have a bed back there. Like, but and I get double takes all the time, like driving my van. It's really funny. Like, and I'm 5'3", so I pop out of the van and I'm super short next to the van. Like, I've had so many, like, especially men look at me and like double take, like, holy shit, like, whoa, because it's like not stereotypical. What I mean? That I have the tools. I like to do this. You know what I mean? I like to do that stuff. I'm kind of like, I walk in the in between. And that's what I always tell Laura. I'm like, you're like in the in between. Like, that's what kind of like where I am,
Which,
So-
like, I fully support, like, women who want to do any of that stuff. Like, yeah, come on, grab a wrench, like,
let's get greased up together.
Yeah, we need more mechanics. We need more engineers and stuff like that. Like, I mean, heck, half of America, while everybody was off to war and everything like that, women picked up that
Yep.
that role. Like, that was a big part of it. Like, and then afterwards it was like, oh no, let's introduce all the stereotypes and everything like that. And if you're not this, then you're out, or you're on the fringe of society. And that's if you like something, if you have a passion for it, these hobbies, like, get out there and do it. Like, don't just fall into a stereotype.
Yeah. I think that's really important, is to not just like fall into like, like, oh, well, girls wear pink, and so I'm just gonna be wearing, you know what I mean, like, and doing the extreme of that stereotype. I mean, like, there are definitely are women that are definitely like more feminine like that, and that you know what I mean, that maybe that is, like who they, who they are. But I think sometimes in a pursuit to try to like fulfill those shoes that they're trying to present, that some people do go to an extreme with the stereotype. And it's like,
Mhm.
but there's women like, that are totally like butch women, and like butch women are freaking hot and butch women are sexy, and they should still exist, right? We're like, yes, in agreement. Like, so I think that, there we need all types of people, like, from all different, backgrounds, and we need to find ways to coexist in this world together. And I think sometimes it can be really hard. It can be
Yeah.
really hard.
It can.
And it's hard like when it feels like we're having like a major battle. I think my biggest thing with everything is the self ID that's happening, and the children. I think
Yeah.
that those are my two like kind of like sticking, points with everything. What adults do, I think that they should have as much informed consent, and like really have like a screening process for everything, especially if they're going to do anything surgical or medical wise. I think that it should be like absolutely 100% just like informed consent over everything, like every aspect of it. Like tell them everything that could possibly go wrong, what could go right, and like really, really help people come to the realization that they really want to do it, so that
Yes.
there is less regret. There's less people that are,
Absolutely.
are regretful. And I think that that's being a caring person. Because if I didn't care, I'd be like, whatever, let them do it. They're an adult,
Right.
choose it. But it's actually coming from a place of caring, and just wanting, people to not, to not go through with something that's not a reversible thing. Like it's not easy to go through that.
Exactly.
And I've seen it with my friends, like it's not like getting a haircut and getting new clothes. It's not just that.
Right. No. And that's the big, like, for me, like, if anybody is like, see if they, confide in me or anything like that, I'm like, okay, take a deep breath and, really, really make sure that's like, you're what you want.
Yeah, like try it out. Try it out.
Talk to a therapist.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think they stopped people like just don't go to therapists like they used to. Like it used to be that it was a, there was a screening process.
Yeah.
And now it's that is like completely torn down.
Which if you want to do it, or honestly with a lot of stuff, anything, if you should have the freedom to do it. But yeah, you need to know the ins and outs of it. Like I looked at it for 10 years. Like that's a long time. And certain doctors, like when I go to an appointment, like unrelated for anything on it, it's you have to give them like a whole education process. And I'm at the point where I'm just going to start pre-emailing them like a file, like, okay, here.
Yeah, maybe you should write a book or something that's like a doctor's or a, a guide to, what I mean, what it's like for you,
Well, yeah.
like
It,
almost like a pamphlet, like, you know what I mean? Like that could be produced, like that would help doctors and dentists or whoever it is that you are going to medically interact with,
yeah.
from
And
from a patient's perspective.
yeah, I mean, I know I'm sure there's like guidelines and stuff like that out there somewhere, but
But
like
it would be interesting though.
mainly like what I'm saying with that is like, uh, you know, there is like, there are changes like with different medical practices, like, between, um, aftercare for, say, an accident or, um, just having a flu or cold or whatnot, you know, at a certain point, it's like if you change your doctor or whatever, it's like, okay, now I got to get you caught up.
You have to like establish everything
Yeah,
with the doctor before you could even get into what you really need to be at the doctor for.
right. And it would make appointments go so much faster.
I can imagine, yeah, like just creating like an email just to basically outline it and just be like, all right, well, I need to email you this so that you can understand. And and that makes sense. That just seems like good communication. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like it won't waste your time, it won't waste their time. They'll know where you're at, you know what I mean, with everything. Yeah, that's
exactly.
gotta be I always think about that too, like when it comes to like the medical aspect of it. Like, if you were in an emergency and you present as female and they don't know, like it's got to be dangerous too. Like it's almost like you need to have like a medical ID bracelet, like if someone has diabetes or something, like they
Yeah,
have one of those, medical ID bracelets. I almost think it would be beneficial for, people like, transsexuals and even transgenders, anybody that's on like, especially any of the hormones, because it affects, it can have complications. I mean, like, because our biology, it goes down to like, females have smaller hearts and we have less lung capacity, and like the
hmm,
tests that they do, for the different sexes, it's different. So like if they don't realize it, then it can be dangerous for you. Like what do you think of that? Like
what? So that was actually an interesting question that, and I don't know the answer to it yet, but one of my friends, talked about, um, certain um, like signs of a heart attack. Like, does does that change, or will it
yeah,
slightly change? Because knowing the signs of a heart attack can save your life. You know, and
absolutely.
if that does change, you should be educated on that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. I just always think of like, I was in, car accidents before and had to, go to the hospital. And I think like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, what if something happened and like if you were unconscious and they didn't, you know what I mean? And they're treating you and they don't realize like what, what things do make a difference. I mean, guess that I have some medical professionals coming on to talk about stuff. So I think that that's something I'll ask them, like, if
I
how
think that would definitely be a question for them. It's like,
yeah, like
well,
what can we
I
look
know
out?
my body, I and I know what I need. Um, I don't exactly know on the medical side of things, what those differences are. So I think that would be a great conversation with, medical professional that would, be able to kind of point out that, um, you know, any difference if there is any, emergency situation. I know there is, you know, long-term care, but other than that, it's like, you
Yeah.
know, is there a field guide?
Yeah, I know. I feel like we need to, these are things that we should probably, I mean, we should talk to some of the people, the other transsexual people that we know within our, group, and just kind of like feel that out there. Like, what are the differences? How does this affect you guys differently? Because you don't want to wait until it's like you're in that situation to have, you know what I mean? To like, to deal with it. A little bit of preventative, like, there should be a way to let a medical professional know, because they don't necessarily like, they're not going to necessarily be able, they're not like stripping you naked to see, like, or testing, you know what I mean? Like, are they testing your chromosome? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
like,
certain people do let them know. They'll have the pronoun pins. They'll have.
Yeah, certain ones do. They have the uniform, but like, everyone without the uniform. But yeah, like, I'm just thinking, like, even, medical ID bracelets, or you know what I mean, something along those lines to let like healthcare professionals know that, like,
Yeah.
Hey, stop before you just start to treat me with, blah blah blah, because it could have an adverse event for you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm the mom, like, so I'm always like thinking like preventatively, and like what could happen, and like, oh my gosh, my brain just it's always worked that way. Just like trying to problem solve things that haven't happened yet. Like, what could the reaction be to that? Or what could, you know what I mean? Like, if this did happen, what would we do? I don't know.
Yeah, which, and that's one thing that I love that they did in Florida, though, right? So, in Florida, you have to now go to a doctor for a prescription. You got to get informed consent. Now, the way they went about implementing it was a total train wreck.
Now, can you give me a little bit of background, like, on how they kind of like went about it and everything in Florida?
So, the law got changed where you had to have, be licensed as a doctor, as a medical doctor.
As opposed to like a clinic or something where
it's
somebody
just
else
a nurse practitioner, and then you have one medical doctor maybe overseeing 10 to 20 centers, whatever the case may be, but watching every single patient that runs through there and all that stuff, it's so, like, how do you keep up with that? So, actually going to a, and I'm going to totally mess this pronunciation up, endocrinologist.
I think you did it right.
I
think you did.
I feel like I say it wrong every time I say it.
I think you got it right. I say things backwards all the time. Like, I'm dyslexic, and I say that my brain like says the things dyslexic. So, whatever.
There you go. But yeah, like, they understand, the hormones and everything like that. Your primary doctor may not understand all that. And just going to a clinic, or, an affirming clinic at that, they're there handing the stuff out, like candy, and, even to kids, and doing all this stuff. And that's not good. That's not right.
No, it's not. It worries me.
It's unfortunately a longer process. I know this, some, it's, they do feel very much in that, it's life or death situation. But, it's it is a longer process, and we're doing the right things to help people smooth out this process. But right now it's in the limelight. It's, it's boom, center stage in a lot of this stuff, and which it doesn't really need to be. We have a lot bigger problems that we need to work on. But in Florida, what they did is they stopped Planned Parenthood from writing all these prescriptions and everything like that. They did it in a bad way, though, because as soon as the law came into effect, it was in effect. They didn't give the medical board, doctors,
wow.
or anything like that time to prepare.
It was just like immediately like it's in effect, and it's not like we're not going to give you 3 months to get your affairs in order.
Correct.
Oh wow.
So,
yeah, that
unless you had like a refill that was already like processed, a lot of people in Florida couldn't get their medication for 3 months. And I think they've yet to still come up with a like verified informed consent form.
Oh wow.
So they've only gone to like emergency rulings where they can actually say like, okay, well, the medical board is going to allow these doctors to process this without the consent form for now. We're working on it. So I think they're going to have their final meeting here in August, and on the actual form, we'll find out what's going to happen. But it's for everybody that was on it and going to like Planned Parenthood, stuff like that, because it was convenient or easy for them. They've been totally derailed, and honestly, it's not it's not good for your system to just crash and be off of hormones.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that must feel.
And have like the reset time and everything like that. Like that was a huge detriment to a lot of trans people in Florida, and it was kind of worrisome in a way, because it's like, okay, well, if they can't get it from at least a medical professional or a doctor, where are they going to try to get it from?
Yeah. I know.
And
I've heard
are
some
they-
people like say they were doing like self, what I mean? Like they were doing their own self
Yeah.
process of hormones and stuff. And I'm like, oh gosh, that makes me worry that, people are going to get sick or something's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for a lot of years it was, and this is years before I think I even came around to be on the earth. There was people, doing that. And that's before it got, actual, medical. But, now, they had the, self ID, the affirming clinics and stuff. But it also puts a load on the supply chain for it as well. And for women who need estrogen, or men who need testosterone, there's such a load placed on the supply of that. Like, what is this, boom in, everybody suddenly coming out and getting on hormones? What is that doing to, people who have a bad endocrine system that you know, it just
Yeah.
never worked right. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, and I know two people that are intersex, and they both have to take, they have to take stuff. So,
Yeah.
like, so some people are born with, with a birth defect, or, or they're, they might be trans. There's women that have gone through like menopause. There's men who just don't produce enough, like, so, there's a lot of reasons why people need them. So yeah, like, it's definitely, I know there's a few people recently that have been saying that the supply chain, something was going on. Like the supply chain was not right, and they weren't able to like get their hormones and stuff like that. And I think it's because we have I think the last numbers that I saw is like a 5,000% increase in the last, like, couple of years. So that's a huge number. That's a huge number of people. And
Which
people,
I don't know. It's like, okay, is that, I never, like, I don't know where they get the actual numbers from. Is that like just on, is that actual like medical? Is that just on, Reddit?
there's so many
whatever.
factors to that,
Right.
Yeah, like it's just such a wide spectrum of people, because it is a huge umbrella that it, you know what I mean? Like, when you say trans, it covers a huge amount of people, and so, like, it really easily could mean a whole lot of, like, like, different age groups and different demographics, and, like, I would like to see, like, more of, like, the real raw data, like, categorized, instead of just having a percentage that they're, that they're including. Absolutely.
Right. Because, everything at Pride now is trans.
I lost friends over me speaking out about rainbow flags being in schools, and, like, especially the new flag with, like, all the all the extra stuff, and the intersex people are on there, and they don't want to be on there. And they have, like, the weird triangle, like, thing, and it's really weird that when you put four of those together, it makes a swastika. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't make that. Like, I didn't design that flag. I didn't even notice it until someone else pointed it out. But I'm just like, yeah, this is, what the hell is going on? You know what I mean? Like, this is like, this seems like it's getting way out of hand compared to where it was even just a few years ago. Like, and I'm like, I am part of the LGB, and I don't want to, this flag doesn't need to be in schools.
Yeah.
Like, you can be inclusive to everybody and not have that flag still, like, like, we could just do without it. Because it's upsetting a lot of people, and it's the force of it that's upsetting a lot of people also. And and I'm like, I lost friends, people like, oh my God, Lucky's transphobic because she doesn't want this flag in the kids' school. And I'm just like, really? Are you kidding me? And then they're like, oh, well, are you really part of that? Are you really, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is this like that's why that part-time lesbian thing is a thing. Because I'm like, I dated women solidly for like a good 10 or 12 years. Like, and I'm not going to provide pictures for you. Like, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to provide evidence of my life to prove that I did that, but that's like where I felt like we were at. Like, people are like, oh yeah, are you really part of that community? Or are you just saying, like, really? You think I'm virtue signaling saying that? Really? Because you believed me 5 minutes ago until I said that I didn't think that the flag should be at the schools. I mean, like, that was the trigger point. And I'm like, this is, it just, I'm like, and I remember people, like, just being like, yeah, well, they were never your friends if if they want to cut you off because of something like that. Like they really
Yeah.
weren't ever your friends.
Exactly.
And it's hard. It sucks.
Exactly. I will say that's like in social settings and with my friends and everything like that. Like that's probably the best thing I've learned is who my real friends are, who my ride or dies are.
Yes.
Because they've stuck around the whole time.
And those are the people that you want to have around.
Exactly. I don't need 100 friends. I need 2 or 3.
Yeah. You just need the people that are really going to be there for you.
Yeah. No pictures.
I'm not showing you any pictures yet. Well, Steve, what do you think
About what?
about what we're talking about?
I don't know. It's all confusing.
He'll-
It's all a lot all the time, and like at least 60% of the people are fucking insane. And like maybe 40% of them are reasonable on both sides, and it doesn't matter like which people they are as far as the transgender or transsexual or trans whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like those are just the odds of crazy people. 60% of the people total will be fucking batshit and just double down every time they're wrong about everything that you just like try to be reasonable about and have common sense about. They just fight you every step.
Yeah. It's just a matter of whether you're finding the 60 or the 40 when you're talking to somebody. Like you kind of got to weigh it,
Like there's reasonable people on every side of it. But then there's super crazy, unreasonable people on every side of it as well. So it's challenging.
Yeah. I agree. And he'll hear like the spaces sometimes like when we're on them. And man, we get into some conversations in there. Like it gets wild sometimes. Like, and sometimes people just like there are certain people that are pushing like that all trans people have like autogynephilia and stuff. And I've dated, though I can't remember how it's pronounced because I can never say it right, but there are women that do the same thing, especially like in the butches with the lesbians. There's women that are the exact same thing as the males that basically it's you like women, you love women so much that you want to become one, but it's like there's more of a like a sexual aspect to it. But there's women that are the same type of way, and I've dated some of them,
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was really weird to me at first. Like I was just like, oh, okay. Like one of the women that I dated was a stone, and I wouldn't be surprised if like a couple of the women that I dated ended up being like, transsexual or like, like kind of becoming transgender at the same time. Like I wouldn't be surprised with the couple of them. I wouldn't be surprised, because like it was all very much like along the lines of dude, like a dude, but just in a female body. Like, so, and there's some that like, I'm not going to go into like, like details or anything, but definitely had the whole, like the same thing that the AGPs, the male to female AGPs have too, like just the same kind of thing, but it's just, it's different when it comes from a female, but the same presenting ways and all of that. Like, and I heard a podcast about it, and I was just like, oh shit! Like I had a light bulb moment. I was like, I know what they're talking about because I dated women like that.
Yeah, it's funny when you have like that experience that it's like you can never place anything on, and then like
Yeah.
somebody talks about it like years later or whatever. You're like, no way.
You're like, ding, ding, ding. Yes. Definitely.
But I do agree. Like you'll find, if you it's on the 60-40 thing, it's like, yeah, you'll find the crazies like easily. But it's I think it's really like flipped though. It's there's a smaller percentage of crazies, but they're loud and easy
They're
to find.
louder than the rest.
Yeah. And there's the quiet ones that just want to, Homer Simpson back into the bush.
Yeah, just blend into society. And
Yeah.
that's the thing.
I'm not here.
Yeah, like I feel like that's like, like the transsexuals like would just kind of like, like the ones that everyone that I always knew, it's like they just wanted to blend in and just, kind of be like a chameleon and just go about their life, and that's it. And then I think that's where the big issue that we always come across, is like the changing rooms and the bathrooms and like the self-ID aspect. I think that is what kind of like ruined that whole thing, because I've never had a problem with any of my transsexual friends going in the same bathroom together, whether they had the surgery or not. It was never an issue because it's intention, right? It's the intention of the person,
right,
that we can't see. It's the intention of the person that is not like, you know what I mean? It's not like they have like a big sign above their head that shows their intention. And so that's the thing I think that people miss with that kind of like that hot debate, that hot topic, is the fact that we don't know what somebody's intention is and how they are behaving, because the people that are transsexual that are in the bathroom are just in there to do exactly like what the rest of us are doing. You know what I mean? So like it's different than the people that are doing it and they have, they have a desire to do it for a different reason. Like their intention for it is not the same as like, like women use the bathroom as a safe place. I put up a tweet about this, like, I don't know, like probably like a week and a half ago or something. It was right after the testimony that Chloe Cole that had done, and they had done that panel, the judicial panel, and about transgender healthcare. And I replied under there, I'm like, yeah, as women, we are taught that, we have to like, be really aware of our surroundings. We're vulnerable, like the bathroom is a safe place where we can always like, like it's not like there's a guard at the door, and who wants that? I don't want someone checking me. You know what I mean? Like I don't want that for other people either, because I wouldn't want somebody like to have to check me. But I think what happened is, with all the self-ID that we kind of like opened the door to letting people that were kind of like more on the fringe kind of like walk right in. And that's, I think, the problem that we have. And it's like, I don't even know like a good solution to that. Like, cause I don't want to kick out the people that are just, like they're just, like doing what we're supposed, what we all do in the bathroom. And but I don't want the other people that are on the fringe in there doing that either, and it's like, we need to find some kind of middle ground with it. And it's like, I don't even know how we're going to find it.
Well, this might upset a few people. But the reality is, predatory people will always be predatory people.
Mm-hmm.
And they, whether it's under whatever flag, acronym, guise or anything like that, they are going to be predatory people.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's, I hate that there's, been those type of people, and there are those type of people, that are, not, an actual like trans person, claiming it just to gain access. And
Yeah, they're
that,
always going to gain the system somehow. If they're a predatory person, they're going to figure it out.
right. So, I've sat in on, Twitter spaces and stuff like that, talking about this topic and everything. And it's like, as far as the, like a simple gas station bathroom or, whatever like that, like, I'm going to go where it makes most sense. Like, that's really the thing of it. Like, ultimately, for me, I have to look out for my safety. And, really, if there was somebody in there that, needed that time or whatever, as a very private and safe space, I'd probably just walk right back out and, go somewhere else, unless it was an absolute emergency.
I know I'm the girl that's like, I'd rather like pee out in the woods by myself than go in a bathroom, like, so most of the time. Like,
Right.
at a show
And-
or a festival or something, I'm like, yeah, I'm just, I'm okay, I'll just go over in the woods if I can, like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
easier.
if you've been to a festival or two or anything like that, like, oh, just the porta potties are, they are no fun to go anywhere near.
Yeah.
You step within 10 feet of one of those and it's like, okay, I think I'm feeling nauseous.
Yeah, they're awful. Oh my gosh, they're absolutely awful.
Right.
I know,
So
and
it's
I
like,
think there's a small percentage of people that are kind of like, that are ruining it for everybody, and it's the same people that are really loud about stuff too. And it's really hard because it's like, you try not, you want to like, I want to like show people that these things are happening, but I don't want to also like be pushing an agenda that's going to be harmful to people. So it's like, it's like there's a balance there. Like, people need to know that it's happening and why it's bothering people, but at the same time, how many people is this actually, like, how often is this happening, and like, what can we do to
yeah,
kind of like, help each other with all this,
yeah,
it's I feel like we're in such a divide right now. And I think self ID is what really, really, I mean, like, we let the genie out of the bottle, and like, they're like, I am not going back. Like, oh, fuck you, So it's like, we have to figure out how we can kind of like reel it in and, keep everything for everybody, where everybody's going to feel at least the most comfortable that we can,
yeah. Which, I think we're working towards a happy median. But the truth of it is, we're not there yet.
No.
And it's going to take time. And any side needs to understand that. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if you're not happy about that, but, it's because, time is so precious to us. But when you finally understand that patience and everything like that, you end up with a more rewarding win in the long run. So,
What do you think about the like the Leah Thomas situation and like in the sports and stuff like that?
I don't like Leah Thomas. I don't think Leah should have been competing on that level. You know, I don't think Leah should have been changing, you know, in like a open locker room with everybody else present. Like,
I agree.
you know, that there's very, very easy ways around this. And, you know, maybe that just is, you know, where Leah was directed, or anything like that, or, you know, what felt right for, you know, Leah at the time. But, you know, really there should have been a lot more common sense there. And that's why it's like such an upsetting thing, you know, like why on earth, you know, was there, you know, not somebody just saying, hey, use common sense, go to a 100% private space.
Yeah, like we need to adapt this to society, I think, and we need to have, you know, like
Common sense.
Yeah, like, and there was like in the UK, there was like the person that was, you know, male to female, and they said they knew they didn't pass very well. You know, they admitted that themselves, and the attendant gave them a unisex bathroom, like a locker key, and they just assumed and went right to the ladies, you know, locker key, and they realized it didn't work in there, and the person at the desk said, well, no, it's the unisex one. You know what I mean? Like, that's if you can acknowledge that you don't pass, right? And you can acknowledge that you know that would be like that was like the most common sense answer to give somebody the unisex one.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would have done in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, and so this person got really, really upset, and they posted to Twitter, and they got completely torn apart. And, you know, I don't know if somebody was lying to them about it, or, you know, like they were just like, this is the first time this has ever happened to me. And it's like, yeah, well, for the most part, people try to be courteous about it. You know what I mean? But they didn't like that they got given the unisex changing room. They thought that they were entitled to go just directly into women's space. And I feel like the attendant, the person at the you know, at the pool spot, they did the right thing. Well, this same person got caught walking around nude in the girls' locker room after that incident, after they realized, like, oh no, like everybody's upset about me by doing this and in general. And now I'm going to go parade into the female locker room on purpose, knowing it, naked around all these little girls. And like parents were very upset by it. And it's like, it just shows that the people's reaction was justified to begin with. The people that were like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? You should not be in there. Like, my reaction was, why would you, like, they were like, why would they assume I would want the unisex? I'm like, why would you assume? No, you would self-admit that, you know, you don't pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you would think that, you know, like the unisex would be the thing that you would assume, you know, like,
yeah.
And I guess what needs to happen is we need to step aside from, like, you know, being so overly concerned about offending people and being honest with people. Because if we don't, then we're going to continue to have situations like this where things are going to be misread or mistaken, and then people lose their jobs. And then, like, you know what I mean? It becomes this huge blow up situation, as opposed to just saying, like, having it simply labeled like, okay, well, I'm going to be giving you a unisex thing, and you're just going to have to accept that. You know what I mean? Like either you can have
Yeah.
the, if you want to go in the men's or you can go in unisex. These are the options that you have, and like because
I mean, I would, prefer it. Like, give me a private, like, spot to have a bowel movement, to get changed, to shower, like, whatever. Like,
yeah.
I had this long layover in an airport, one time, and I'm like, it'd just be so nice to, like, because I'm getting ready to fly into the next town. My friends are going to pick me up and everything. And I just feel so, like, icky from traveling. Like, it'd
Yeah.
be so nice if, like, there was just, like, a place I could go shower and whatever. And then I discovered day passes at some of these, you know, clubs that, people that travel all the time are in,
Oh, nice.
and you go in there, they got like an attendant up at the front, and you're like, all right, yeah, I, want to uh, go into one of the, showers and everything. And it looks all very like it would just be a shower and like that's it, right? Like behind the door. But you open the door and there's this just like beautiful, gorgeous, looks like you would be in this giant mansion style bathroom. And I'm like, okay, now this is nice.
She's like, I need this at home.
Yeah, like I paid $35, to have access to this as a day pass because I'm going to be here a while. And it's like the whole like, flight club or whatever it was. They had like a full bar, they had a full like continental food type place and everything like that. And it was all included for $35. I was like, I'm doing this every time I fly now.
I know, like I'll book a layover on purpose,
Right? Like, but to have like, a private shower, you know, um, a private toilet and everything like that, like, yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I would want too, and just I don't know. I've always been like that too. Like I would always like go off and just change in my own little area. I hated it like in school, like having to like change for like gym and stuff, and like for I hate it. Was so awkward and weird and like I just
Yeah,
did not like
that's
it.
one thing I never ever got. Like, I haven't set foot in a locker room, like, other than it just being lockers, and like nobody getting changed in there whatsoever or anything like
Oh
that.
wow, lucky
And I'm
you.
just like, I don't understand people that like do this like normally.
I know I used to go to like to the YMCA when my daughter was little, and she had like swim lessons and stuff there, and we would like I would go there to work out and stuff, and but like I just always like went into like the private shower like area and everything like that. But yeah, some people would just change right out in the open, and I would just I mean
Yeah.
it's fine when it's like you're same, like the same sex or whatever. Like it's not, but it's still you're in a vulnerable place and you're around strangers and
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, and that's really like some people get so like blood boiling about the whole conversation, and it's their way or the highway, and there's no there's no happy median or anything like that. And it's like, no, I think there is. Like, I don't understand that. And it's like such a silly conversation because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a shitty conversation to have.
Yeah.
I'll put that little pun there.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like it's not like a comfortable conversation, and there, you know, like you were saying, there is like a certain amount of predatory people that will take advantage no matter what. And so I see both, you know, I can look at it from both sides and see what both sides are saying and go, yeah, I get it from both. And you know what I mean? I get both. I get everyone's perspective, and it's just, it feels like it's just going to be like the last thing that we come to agreements on is going to be the bathrooms and the locker
Yeah.
rooms.
Well, you know, I know there's some good news out of Orlando for everybody, no matter what side you're on, and that they're making, you know, pretty much every like bathroom and stall and everything like that as private as they can. Like,
Oh, wow.
so, you know, all conveniently located in the town hall, and they were doing that like 2 years ago, and I think they like completed it finally. So,
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, that just shows that, like, you know, we can do this. We can adapt, you know,
yeah,
and we can make this where it works out for everybody. I think that that's,
exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of places that already started doing a third bathroom anyway, where they put in like a family bathroom, you
Yeah,
know, like at like most of, like, you know, like the Walmarts or you know, like a lot of the
exactly.
stores and stuff. So I think if they do it going forward, it's going to be more so like the smaller, like, you know, the hole in the wall bars where they only have, like, you know, the 2 bathrooms or whatever. And like that might be where there might be more of an issue. But I mean, it will be like, because like we're in Connecticut, so like we're in, like, you know, we're a historic area where like stuff is just, I mean, one of our post offices that we have is in such an old building. It's not even, they never even made it wheelchair accessible. Like it's just not at all. Like it's just not accessible if you cannot go upstairs. So I mean, there are certain things that like they won't, you know, like adapt or whatever, because they can't. But I mean, for the most part, I think a lot of the places they can kind of adapt them.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, you know, a place I frequent, like it has, you know, the handicap stall, which there's like one person who frequents there that like actually needs it, and then like everybody else goes in there because it's a single stall and everybody likes it because it's private.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like, I fully advocate for just, you know, full on like separation of each one, like put all the doors on the outside. Like, okay, so what, you're spending more on doors, but, you know, as far as a business goes or anything like that, but like, there you go. And if you're going out to a hole in the wall bar, like, I don't know if that's the best place to, you know, stand your ground on having um a private, like, safe space in a place that, um you know, people are stumbling in there drunk anyhow. So,
It's
like,
true. It's true.
you know, um, and most of the time, you know, at any of those places, you know, I've heard the the lines are a lot longer for the women's anyhow. So
I know I've gone into, not with men in there, but like I've gone into like, like at one of our local gay bars. Like, there was like the women's and the men's bathroom, and the women's line was just like through the like, but there was no one in the men. So like me and this other chick, like we went in there and took over it because we were like, we're not waiting. We're not waiting anymore.
yeah. And one thing like I'll see that's like so super common down here is if you're at a bar or restaurant and it's busy and there's like a line for certain things, it's like like for the men's room alone, like, okay, if a couple of women are in there, somebody's going to stand outside the door and be like, oh hey, like these people are in there, can you wait a minute? And it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
People are fine with that. And, the same could be said for, like trans women who don't want to go to the, men's restroom, or it doesn't make sense for them to go. They can also have a friend or, ally, male, female, whatever the case they may be, like, just go along with them, stand outside the door and be like, somebody else is walking up there, be like, hey, like this person in there, can you wait a minute? And that's polite, courteous, and I think most of the time people would be like, oh, sure.
Yeah. I think most people like face to face, they're going to be a lot more polite and courteous than they are when they're talking behind like a keyboard.
Yeah, exactly.
People get really brave. They get really brave, don't they, Charlotte?
Oh, yeah.
Like we got some brave warriors out there that will say all sorts of things that they probably wouldn't say to people to their face.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So brave, so moving.
Stunning and brave.
That's stunning and brave. I'm gonna start using that for some rants that I see, on Twitter. I'm just gonna be like, oh, cool, stunning and brave.
I know, and then I'll laugh, and then I'll know exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, Lord. Well.
Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun.
It has.
I'm so glad you came
unfortunately
on.
Going to have to go to bed.
Yeah, it's getting late. So besides Twitter, is there anywhere else anyone can follow you, or should they just follow you there if they're on Twitter?
Yeah, just follow me there on Twitter if you wanna hear me run my mouth.
Oh my gosh.
No, I usually try to be, decent and polite and everything like that.
You are. You're so sweet. Like, you really are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Yeah.
But
so
thank you for having
everybody,
me. Absolutely.
yes.
Like,
I'm so glad
I
that
feel honored.
I'm glad that you came on. I'm honored that you you reached out and that you were willing to come on and talk. I think, especially, you mentioned you're a little bit more reserved and shy a little bit. So I think it's really sweet that you did. I think that that's like, it's a huge step, and it's going to really help people understand a little bit more about the transsexual community and what it means. And, it gives people a face to, to hearing about it. And, so, and it's good because it comes from you. And you get to like, no one else is representing for you. It comes directly from you.
Exactly. And before I go, can I just do like a little shameless plug?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because I love your store and all the merchandise that you have.
Thank you.
if you go onto my Twitter, you'll see a little merch store there. I'm trying to update it a lot more. I got some new stuff, but if you want a Stop the Bulge tank top, they are available there, but they are made to order, so please be patient. But yeah, and there's a bunch of other cool like little stuff that you'll see if you haven't checked it out already.
Yeah, we can add it to the description of the show too. So
Oh yeah,
we can add it down there for you. That way people can find it later on, and it'll be nice and easy to find you on Twitter and find that. And they'll be able to find your store that way too. But
Hell yeah.
yeah, we can add all that. All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope you guys all have a great night. Hit the like button wherever you're watching and share this out there. And we'll see you guys later.
See you next time.